The place to be is living free in Tennessee.
Alrighty, folks, welcome to Living Free Podcast, where we talk about building a life without limits. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and I am on with a really fun interview today that's coming at a very timely time for us here in the holler with Bear Independent, Bear from the internet, as he likes to call himself. We're going to talk about, well, Bear before Bear was Bear and his pathway to the life he is at now. And I think it's going to be a deep conversation, probably. It's called Following the Path, because I know some of what guided him along, and I'm sure we'll get into that today. Before we jump into that, I do want to thank two sponsors. The first one, of course, Holler Roast Coffee. That's my business. You can get fresh roasted, awesome to-order coffee from carefully sourced farms at hollerroast.com. Our second sponsor of today's show helps you keep your digital privacy a little bit more private. The best way to stay private, don't have one of these. But if you're going to have one of these, find a company that can empower you to keep some of the information on this device, and not just send it to Google and Facebook and YouTube like we're doing right now over the internet. Above Phone is one of those companies. I've worked with them for about a year now, and I'm really liking my Above Phone. It allows me to set up a little room for Facebook where it lives in its little room. It doesn't access all the other things I am doing to advertise to me. Check them out at abovephone.com. With that, Bear, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited you made time for this today, and it's good to see you in Kansas recently.
Well, let me brag on you for a minute, okay? Because I feel like your audience, a lot of them probably know you in person, but many more of them don't actually know you in person. And there's a lot of people in the preparedness space, in the homesteading space, we were just talking about this off camera, who aren't actually the person that you're seeing or hearing. And you are not that way. You are very genuine. And every interaction we've ever had has been good and positive and honest. And so when you texted me, it was like, hey, do you want to jump on a show? Yeah, the answer is yeah. And I've got 300 things to do today, but right now it's an honor to be here with you because you're rock solid and you're awesome, and more people should know that.
Wow. Well, thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
You're welcome.
We're going to try not to cry on the show today, so moving on.
Oops.
That's okay. That's part of being genuine, is like sometimes you get teary-eyed. So these interview shows have changed a little bit since we were last on one, and I've been asking people to tell their story about who they were before they were them. And sort of, so what I wanted to talk to you today is like, what was Bear like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago before you really started going down the path you're on now? Was he somebody I'd like?
Probably not. Definitely not somebody that I would like. Bear is not an accidental name. I was dangerous. I was not a trustworthy person. I wouldn't say that I wasn't a good person. I've always had morals and ethics, but what I didn't have was an external framework of morals and ethics, what now I call the Bible, to constrain me to appropriate behaviors. And I was a very angry young man. I had a lot of unfortunate circumstances growing up, and people hurt me, and people who were very close to me hurt me, and that filled me with rage. And I didn't have a very good outlet for that rage. And so, like in high school, I played football, and I hated football practice, but I loved playing football. And I played Iron Man both ways, offense and defense, right tackle on offense and nose guard on defense. And to this day, I don't like offense. I don't like playing on offense because you play patty cake with people. You can just push them. You can't put your hands on them. But on defense, my defensive coach used to scream from the sidelines, "Morris, get in there and kill that kid." And I would. And it was a good outlet, but it was really unproductive. I was barely sportsmanlike. I was just basically, it was sanctioned violence. And then I played drums in heavy metal bands growing up. At about the age of 15 and a half, I ran away from home because home was garbage. And I started playing shows and then touring with guys that were like literally twice my age, playing drums and, sex, drugs, and heavy metal. And I was in a really dark place, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And, I have a high amount of technical proficiency when it comes to playing drums. I'm good at drums, but I was not serving myself nor anyone else, let alone the creator of the universe, with the manner with which I was using that technical expertise. And then I also did heavy construction. I started my first company at 17, cutting timber because we were poor. And when I wasn't on the road playing drums, I was cutting trees in upstate New York, selling firewood and then timber and then tree jobs. And I actually used some of that money once I got a couple bucks in my pocket. I started a production company because all the big bands that we wanted to play shows with wouldn't put us on the bill. I was like, cool, I'll start my own production company, and then I'll hire you to come play my shows, and I will get a percentage of the door for attracting your crowd, and I'll put myself on the bill. Thank you very much. And so I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always had probably a borderline unhealthy work ethic, but me as a young man was not a good dude. Just really broken and angry and hurt a lot of people and hurt myself as well.
So as you look back at that time, did you know something wasn't right, or were you like, screw it, I'm going to take over the world and it is what it is?
I definitely knew something wasn't right. I am also extraordinarily stubborn, like just the immovable object, and the polite way that people address that these days is they go, wow, he's got real tenacity. No, I'm stubborn, right? And that's something I've had to work on in my life over the years, is being more willing to be moved by evidence or conviction than I was as a younger man. But I knew stuff was wrong. I just didn't want to. I could not psychologically and emotionally bear the weight of self-examination to address the fact that I was wrong. And so everything was coping mechanisms, all of it. And all of my coping mechanisms were sin. Like all of them. They were all just terribly self-destructive and socially destructive. And imagine that, you reap what you sow, and I always had morals and ethics, like don't steal, don't murder, don't lie. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Work hard, try and be a good person, that kind of thing. But you can check all those boxes at a societal level and still be a broken piece of trash. And that's basically what I was doing. I don't think anybody who knew me would say, oh yeah, that's a good guy right there. There was that old quote, it's better to be feared than respected. I wasn't respected, and I wasn't respectable.
Do you ever come across people from your past who used to know you when you were that way? And do they see the change? Like, what do they say?
It's an awesome question. I do. And it's weird. It's an odd experience to be reluctantly famous on the internet to the extent that I am. I never thought that things would be this grandiose, and yet here we are. And there are people from my previous life that reject outright the life that I live now because I think number one, I probably wronged them. In many cases, I did wrong them in the past. But number two, it requires self-examination on their part to do the compare contrast between the life that I'm now living and the life that they are currently living. And so they tend to reject me and who I am today. And that's fine. On the flip side, there are people that I used to do life with back in the day that were just straight up heathens. And as was I. I mean, I spent a decade in apostasy playing drums in satanic heavy metal bands. And, my bassist, for example, in the last big band that I was in, out of the blue a few years ago, he was like, "Hey, man, can I get a Bible?" I'm like, "Yep. Yes, you can." And so now, like, we text each other regularly, talk on the phone sometimes. And he's like, "Oh," and it's funny because, like, when metal dudes find Messiah, like, we key in on different parts of the book than other people do, and so he'll be like reading the book of Revelation. He's like, "Bro, that is so badass. Revelation 19, man, he's got a sword." It's like, "Yep, that's awesome." And so I'm a polarizing individual anyway. People either love me or hate me. I've noticed that. And it doesn't often stay consistent. People's opinions of me tends to vacillate back and forth between I love that guy or I hate that guy. And that's fine. But I've noticed that same thing with people that I know from the past. They either love me and what I'm about now, or they can't stand it. And I'm good with either, honestly.
Well, and that's a powerful place to be, because when we talk about following the path and building a truly free lifestyle, which I think means empowering those around you as well. I don't think it's just an alone thing. It's it's going to scare the pee out of people who just need to be part of the system because it's secure for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you are threatening their security. You're threatening everything that they have built into their personality that is false. This weekend, I was at Polyface Farm with Joel Salatin. And one of the things he likes to say is, if you want to be your true self, go back to 10-year-old you.
Mm-hmm.
Who was 10-year-old you? Does that track for you, or was 10-year-old you not quite there?
100%. So I've told people in my organizations now, I'll give you a real quick story. When I was a kid, my dad, we either had money or we didn't, like black or white, right? And one of these times where we had money, and so we went on a family vacation to Disney World in Florida, and they have this the Old West area, and I'm a kid, and I think I was probably 7. Between the ages of 6 and 8, I wore the same outfit every day: blue jeans, red t-shirt, cowboy hat, bandana around my neck, rubber snake around my neck around the bandana, pistol belt leather with 2 cap guns in it, and yellow Winnie the Pooh Bear boots, rubber boots, every day. That's what I wore. And so we go to Disney World, and I'm dressed like this. This is me. My dad's family is from the Midwest, and even though I grew up in upstate New York, and so cowboy stuff is like, it's in our blood, part of our mitochondrial DNA. And so we're in the Old West world, and this stagecoach comes driving in, and then a bunch of dudes on black horses with black hats and black bandanas jump off their horses, and they rob the stagecoach. And apparently, as my dad would tell it, I looked up at my dad and I said, "Don't worry, I got it." And I ran off amongst thousands of people, and they had to do a Disney World-wide search for me because I was gone. And where they found me was in the mercantile store with the bad guy who had the sack of cash from the stagecoach with both my guns out, pointed at his head, had him in the corner of the room, and I was holding him there waiting for the sheriff. And I would not leave until the sheriff arrived so I could turn the bad guy over to the sheriff. And that's kind of my ethos in a nutshell, especially now, if one was to examine all the different ways that I'm engaged in entrepreneurship and ministry, it's basically that. Like, don't steal from people, don't hurt people, and if you do, don't let me catch you doing it. So, yeah.
That is a great story. That's not what I was expecting you to say, but I'm glad that's what you said, as a matter of fact. And I will always have a picture of you in Winnie the Pooh rubber boots now in my head with a couple of cap guns. It's interesting how we walk away or we get taken off of our true path and our true self. So let's go to the good part of this discussion now. What started you moving more towards the bear we see today? Was there an inciting incident, or was it a slow thing over time?
So the Overton window shifted slowly but significantly, because I was so far in the negative. I think that the rebound into the positive would have killed me, literally. And it started with, it's a really long story, but I'll try and make it quick. I was 26 years old. I was doing power construction on the road, and I got diagnosed with colon cancer, which is both family history and then also stress induced. And so, long story short, I found myself in Oklahoma, recovering from surgery at my dad's house, who I did not get along with because we had a very violent and strained past. And I had nothing. I was on unemployment. Only time in my life I had nothing. And so I was stacking up my unemployment checks, buying cheap Stoker's tobacco to, chew tobacco with, and saving money. Bought a couple of work trucks, started a company, went to work. And after about 6 months of doing that, I got lonely. And one of my guys said, "Hey, you should try this online dating thing." I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds gay. I don't want to do that." And he's like, "Just try it." And so I did. And this name kept popping up, Harmony. And God's honest truth, my first thought was, what kind of hippie names their kid Harmony, But it was just this beautiful woman, and it just kept popping up and kept popping up. And so I sent her a message, or she sent me a message. It depends on who you ask. We get different stories here. But one of us contacted the other. We ended up emailing for a couple of weeks, talking for a couple of weeks. And then she said, "Hey, do you want to come over for a barbecue?" She was living in North Texas at her mom's house. I was living in southeastern Oklahoma at my dad's house, about an hour and a half away. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm coming." And so I get there and knock on the door. And this little 3-year-old blonde-headed girl answers the door. I said, "Hey, is your mom home?" She's like, "Yep." Turns around and runs away. So I walk in the house. I'd been tasked with bringing a 12-pack of Shiner Bock with me. So I set that on the counter. I walk into the backyard, and I open the door to the backyard, and time stops. And the creator of the universe said to me, "That's your wife. You can stop looking now." And on that day, I met my wife and the first of my 2 kids, and my mother-in-law and great-grandma and my wife's uncle, like my whole family. Just met them on that day. And 9 days later, I told my wife, I said, "Hey, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm in love with you." And she said, "Oh, thank God, I love you too." And I was like, "Cool, let's do life together." And then throughout that process, I ended up going back to church. I'd run away from the church and started using my God-given talent for drums to actually play worship music instead of heathen heavy metal. And got baptized again. That church imploded and the whole nine. And then I found myself just really pissed off, because I'm good at that. And I started reading the Bible for myself. And then we strategically relocated from North Texas to eastern Oklahoma, and started this little YouTube channel about preparedness, because I could not stand the bad information the Canadian Prepper was putting out at the time, which was my wife's recommendation, by the way. I started reading the Bible on camera, and the channel grew from 2,000 subscribers to 225,000 subscribers pretty quick. And it's been a wild ride of going from a guy that if old me walked into my life right now, I would not let him around my wife and kids. to the guy that I am now. And that's because of the grace of the Most High. And there are 6 times that I know of that I should be dead, that I know of, and I'm not. And I'm not a cat. I'm a bear, which means statistically I'm an anomaly. We teach here at Refuge, one of our blocks of instruction includes what's called hypovolemic shock, and there's 3 stages. There's compensatory, decompensatory, and then irreversible hypovolemic shock. And hypovolemic shock is when you lose 50% or more of your blood volume, and it's bad. You got a 50-50 chance of survival when that happens. That's happened to me twice, and I'm still here. To say 4 other times that I should be dead, and I'm still here. And so I don't believe in happenstance or coincidence or serendipity or just statistical anomalies. I believe in a loving creator who takes a personal interest in the lives of his kiddos, and for whatever reason, he has seen fit to keep me from becoming a statistic.
So as that journey happened, did you ever find yourself being told something from on high and not believing you were really being told that and ignoring it? Like, did you ever go down that road?
A bunch. And what I learned with that, I mean, there's a blessing in the fact that I spent a decade in apostasy, because I know what disobedience feels like. I am intimately aware of what disobedience feels like. And the way that I have quantified this sense is I don't want to get an ass whipping from dad. Because disobedience, when the Father tells you to do something, you've only got 2 options. You can be obedient or you can be disobedient. And delayed obedience is disobedience. And so what I have found is when the Spirit is telling me to do something, I typically know that it's the Spirit, because it's the exact opposite of what I want to do. What me and the flesh wants to do. I want to do X. And it's like, nope, you're doing Y. I'm like, but come on, Dad. And it's like, nope. Did I stutter? I have literally heard the Creator use the phrase with me. Did I stutter? No, sir, you did not. Okay, then do what I told you to do. Okay. And having come from such a low place in my life, I don't want to go back there again. And this is not a works-based theology, but suffice it to say, I don't want to lose the hand of blessing that's on my life through disobedience. And so obedience to the Most High is extraordinarily uncomfortable in a good way. And the only thing that's more uncomfortable is disobedience, which is manifests itself in a bad way. And so that requires me to be brave in my faith and go and do the things that the Father tells me to do. And I really, really try to listen to those things. And I am blessed to have a wife that also listens to those things, so that when I say something ludicrous like, hey, babe, I'm not going to be home for dinner. Insert town here got destroyed by a tornado. I'll see you in a few weeks. She's like, okay, cool. Or when it's 3:00 in the morning, I'm like, hey, love you. Gotta go. We got to go do this rescue. She's like, awesome. Be safe. I'll see you when you come back. Because there's times I don't want to do these things, nor do I seek any approval or applause for doing them. I just do them. I do them because I'm told to, but they also get a certain amount of spotlight shown on them because I am who I am and I live my life on this camera by and large. And I think part of that is so that others may see and understand what it looks like and what it feels like to have a conviction on you that you have to be obedient to, so that you will go even when you don't want to, because there is a blessing for you on the other end of that obedience. And the Father has work that he needs to get done here on earth, and he needs his kiddos to help his other kiddos out. And so it's a blessing to be his hands and feet, but it's not in any way comfortable in my experience. It's good, but it's uncomfortable.
So as you've been following that calling, how has it changed from what it was at first? Like, did it go stepwise for you, or was it just like do everything at once?
Oh, no, it was not do everything at once. And I'm very thankful that it wasn't do everything at once, because I would have got I would have found a way to mess it up. It started with go to church, and then that turned into now play drums, and then that turned into okay, now actually read the Bible, and then that turned into cool, now read the Bible on camera. And I had a huge argument with God over that, like screaming at the sky, pissed off, huge, like absolutely not. Who am I to do that? I'm no one. It's like, that's the point, dummy. That's the point. No one, anyone can do this. Anyone can read this Bible. Anyone can do what it says. Okay. And then out of that, it turned into, hey, these people lost everything in this hurricane in Florida. Go help them. Okay. Now go help them again. Okay. Now go help these people after a tornado. Okay. Now you're in between tornadoes and hurricanes. Why don't you go do a construction job over here for this restoration facility? Okay. Now you've seen what this looks like. Build another one. Oh, that was a big argument. What do you mean make more of these? What? That's ridiculous. No. Did I stutter? Make more of these. Okay. And I remember arguing with God saying, I don't know how to do any of this. And his exact words were, you build the buildings, I'll handle the rest. And he has, because he's good. And so there's an element to this there's a biblical principle of he who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. And a lot of times that's quantified inaccurately. It's quantified with a monetary value. If I can trust you with $10, I can trust you with $100 and then $1,000 and so forth. It's impact. If you can be trusted to be a good steward of this purview of impact, you're going to learn while you're doing that. And then you can go a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And now a lot of times what it looks like is it's layers upon layers. Like, hey, go over here and do this thing. Okay, sure. Now while you're here, side mission, go over here and talk to this person. Okay, I don't really want to talk to that person, but okay. Oh, they need to confess. Hear their confession. Okay, good. Now that you heard that, you better know where there's a body of living water because you need to go baptize them. Oh, I don't want to do that. It's like, cool, did I stutter? Which probably sounds weird because like now I'm an ordained pastor, which is in of itself weird. It's good, but it's weird. It's like, what do you mean the pastor doesn't want to baptize people? Like, yeah, because I'm not just doing it for show. It's not about my glory. It's like it takes something out of me too. It takes a level of obedience from me to say, all right, let's go. Let's go to the lake. Let's go to the river. Let's go do this thing. But if I do that enough times, and I've been blessed to do that enough times, that other people will see. And seeing is what motivates and instructs people. It's not necessarily reading or viewing remotely, through whatever digital means, or even hearing. It's seeing. And then, especially when people see me in person, warts and all, and they're like, this is just a normal dude. That dude has got gray hair and he's balding and he's a little chubby. Like, yeah, I'm just a normal guy. And so are you, which means you can do this. So.
Well, the leading by example has shown through everything you do. Like, you are the person you are. And we were talking about that ahead of time. You are the person you are when I meet you in person.
Lead by example. It's one of our core values.
Yep. No, yeah, that's what you were pointing to it on the. It's right behind you on the. Yeah, I was like, what's the finger?
Sorry.
As you've gone down the journey, you've had people come. You've had great people come. You've had the wrong people come. What did that look like?
Oh, messy. Good messy. The people that they were and the person that I was are not the same people that we are now. And everybody should be growing. Pat Mac uses a phrase, words to the effect of, can the man you are today kick yesterday man's ass? And that's from a physical development standpoint. But that should be true as far as personal development across all facets, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, educational, financial. And you should be better today than you were yesterday. And the goal should be to be better tomorrow. However you quantify that, ideally moving towards a set of prescribed goals, explicit goals. You should be better tomorrow than you are today. And so as people have come and gone, and as people have come and stayed, I'm not the same person today that I was yesterday, to say nothing of a year ago or 5 years ago, and nor are they. And so everything ebbs and flows. People come and people go, and that's okay. About 3 weeks ago, I was teaching a class right here, and for the first time ever, it hit me that when we teach trauma medicine, pre-hospital trauma medicine, one of the things that we're looking for is respiration. If you have a patient that doesn't have a pulse and isn't respirating, they're clinically dead. And we could tell they're respirating by the rise and fall of their chest, in and out, in and out, in and out. So if you observe anything in nature that's alive, it respirates, it expands and contracts, it expands and contracts. And if it didn't, we would say, oh, it's clinically dead. And the Father was really working with me on this because I had lost some people, some to death and some to disagreement and some to just season of life. And I was kind of struggling with like, what is happening? All these people are leaving by one means or another. And the Father just was teaching me while I was teaching everybody else. It's like, yeah, buddy, because it's alive. It's expanding and contracting and expanding and contracting. It's respirating. And then if you get into what the word for breath is, in Hebrew it's ruach, and what that means is not just breath, but it's also wind and it's also spirit. And so proof that the spirit is in it is that it expands and contracts. And I barely kept my composure while I was teaching this class full of students. And so people come and people go. It's not always amicable when it's time for people to go. And the best that you can do is be respectful to the best of your ability. And you can absolutely forgive people their trespasses, as they can forgive you of your trespasses. But forgiveness does not mean restoration of access and placement. And that's really important to understand. If somebody's hurting you or has hurt you, you can forgive them for doing that, but it doesn't mean you have to put them in the same position again to where they can hurt you again. That would be stupid. So forgiveness does not mean restoration of access and placement. And it's challenging because you've built a significant portion of your life with people, and then you almost wake up one day and they're not the people that they used to be, and you're not the person that you used to be, and you've got to go your separate ways. And that's okay. And so if you remove the value judgment from it and just let it be what it is, you can love that person even when they're not here anymore. Even when you're not happy about it, you can still love that person. And hopefully they can love you too. It's without love, how do we even get to respect? So it's messy. People are messy, but they're also worth it. And I've said myriad times, the best things and the worst things in life are people. All of my fondest memories and greatest achievements included people. And all of the worst things that have ever happened to me in my life included people. It's worth rolling the dice on people. Yeah, it's messy.
It's messy, but it's worth the mess.
You ever see like a little kid trying to eat spaghetti?
Yeah.
And it's just everywhere. I mean, it's in their hair and it's on the floor and they got sauce everywhere and it's messy. But man, they're having the time of their life and they're getting sustained while they're doing it. It's a lot like that. I think we traumatize ourselves by ascribing too much judgment value to things that happen to us or happen in our lives or things that we make to happen. It's like, there's a certain amount of like cheerful nihilism that's required in order to navigate life. It's like, in a long enough timeline, the sun expands and we all suffer a solar death and everybody's dead anyway. So did you have a good day today? Awesome. Cool. You want to eat some spaghetti? Cool. It's messy,
Yep. Do you have advice for people who are wanting to build more freedom to understand what they're being called to do to get started with that?
Yeah. Radical personal responsibility. I'm a pen and paper guy. I like physical, visceral, tactile. I like writing. And so I get out a pen and paper. But for you, the listener, whether you're using the Notes app on your phone or you got a Google Doc up or whatever, calligraphy, whatever, examine your life. Take time. And here's a really practical, tactical way to do that. Take yourself to lunch. Go to a restaurant. Pay the waiter $20. I literally tell the waiter, I do this every 90 days, by the way, to take stock of where I'm at. It's required with all the different things I have going on. I'll tell the waiter or the waitress, hey, I'm good. This is what I want to eat. This is what I want to drink. And unless I raise my hand, I'm good. Please don't interrupt me. I'm in deep thought over here. And I'll hand them a $20 bill preemptively and say, hey, if I need anything, I'll let you know. Okay. Because otherwise, every 14 minutes, they're like, hey, are you good? Do you need some more water? You want some mozzarella sticks? You're like, right? Pay them to leave you alone. It's worth the $20 to buy a little bit of time. Go and sit for an hour and inspect your life. Itemize your life and look at all the areas of your life where you have subcontracted authority in your life to somebody else or some other institution. Itemize them first, whatever that might look like, whether it's your personal income or it's your faith or your education or sustenance or your health or personal development, all these different categories. And what you're going to find is you're going to be like, wow, I suck. This is terrible. I think I should maybe just die. It's like, no, don't be melodramatic. We all suck. Everybody sucks. Now, what can I do better? How can I improve these things? Because there's always room for improvement. There are points of diminishing returns, but none of us are there yet. So don't sweat it. Okay. What can I do? Like, oh, my health is in shambles. Like, okay, could I maybe sleep a little bit better? I develop a sleep plan, literally. Could I maybe eat a little bit better? Develop a meal plan. Could I maybe move my body a little bit more? That's a PT routine, physical training. Okay, cool. Now you got a map sheet. Now you got a plan. All right, well, my income sucks. Okay, cool. Everybody flips out about their 9 to 5. What are you doing with your 5 to 9? What are you doing in the evenings? How many times are you going to scroll Instagram or check the news, air quote, on X before you're just like, existential crisis rectangle, this sucks, and give up? Educate yourself. Learn valuable skills. Network with people. Find a mentor and sit at the foot of the master. Identify a skill that you need but don't possess, and then work on that. And then work on the next one. And then that ladders up to where maybe I should get into entrepreneurship. Maybe I do need to file an LLC. And then you start doing math, and it's like, well, cost benefit analysis. If I can invest $20K into this business, I could probably turn $100K in year one with that. Okay, cool. And then you go from working 40, 50, 60 hours a week for the man for working 168 hours a week for yourself. Entrepreneurship. But I would just be realistic with yourself and really write it down and make yourself a map sheet, because otherwise it's easy to get distracted. And somebody I love for this is Alex Hormozi, Hormozi, in the entrepreneurship space. And he's somebody he and his wife, Layla, who have actually done this. They run a company called acquisition.com that does $250 million a year in revenue. It's not a valuation, it's revenue. And they're good. And Hormozi talks about everybody's looking for one golden bullet. And it's not one golden bullet. It's 100 silver BBs. But if you don't know what the silver BBs are, you can't execute on them. And so it's the idea of, 1% better every day is 365% better at year's end. So, but I don't know what I need to make better, me personally, and until I sit down, buy a little bit of my time back, take myself to lunch and itemize it, write it out. And what you'll find also when I do this is there's about a third of the things that I end up writing down that are just complete and utter BS. Like, they're not even important. I'm like, why am I tripping over this dumb thing? And then what I do, it's so cathartic, Nicole. I take a pen or a Sharpie and I just cross it out. I'm like, I'm going to choose to not care about that anymore. Awesome. That frees up all this room to worry about these other things that are actually important.
Well, that's a great roadmap to moving towards taking more ownership for your future. And we call it building a life without limits here, because it's about a headspace. When you program your head to make your life better, it makes your life better. And when you program your head to make your life worse, guess what happens?
Hey,
Or when you stop taking any control at all. Yeah, go for it.
So a lot of us worry about, especially in the preparedness space, we look at all the negative indicators, right? And what people don't realize, and this may sound a little frou-frou coming from me, but 5 companies, 2 ministries, products on 4 continents, not that smart, just really stubborn and hardworking. Okay. What people don't understand is that your attention and intention are essentially the same thing. And what you pay attention to, you are putting your intent, your intention into, and you reap what you sow. What you gaze upon, you will become. And so if you spend all this time in the negative, looking for negative indicators, what you will get is negative. And so if we were just going to be fair to ourselves, if you spend an hour a day worrying, you owe it to yourself to give at least as much airtime, an hour a day, to dreaming and trying to be positive and crafting a vision that serves you. Otherwise, you're just beating yourself up and it doesn't actually serve you. And so be careful what you pay attention to, because you are pouring your intent into that, and your intent the world will bend around your will. I'm living proof of it. The world will bend to your will. And so if all you're, to use a hippie phrase, manifesting is negativity, don't be surprised when that's all you have, because it's all you pay attention to. And so if you're spending an hour a day thinking about bad stuff, at a minimum, you owe it to yourself, to your family, to your legacy, your progeny, to spend an hour a day thinking about, what if this was good? What if this was awesome? What if it actually worked out? And that's not some hippy dippy frou-frou BS. I'm not that way. I think you know that, Nicole, but I teach every Thursday here in the Refuge. We have Refuge classroom every Thursday morning. And that's one of the things that I have hit over and over for years is attention, intention, attraction, and then that creates the reality that we live in. And so if all you're looking for is negativity, you'll never see the opportunities. They're not there. And sometimes all the opportunity takes is for you to grab hold of it and make it your own, and force it into existence through your sheer willpower to make it happen. And it's a big part of not just entrepreneurship, but freedom as well. Like, it goes back to auditing all these beliefs that I have. And does this even make any sense? It's like, why do I got to stick this thing and these 2 other things in my arm in order to participate in society? That's stupid. The society is not that special anyway. Like, I have tasty sheep back at my house. You want to bring some coffee over? I'll kill a ram. We'll hang out, drink coffee, and eat sheep. That sounds wonderful. But what if they come get us? They're not going to come get us.
We'll give them coffee and lamb.
Yeah. Y'all hungry? Hey, man, you want a lamb chop? This stuff is delicious. How do you take your coffee?
Yeah. Well, I want to riff on that a little bit too, because I noticed that sometimes, and I'm highlighting a comment right now, people get stuck in that downward spiral. And they get stuck in what has happened before and all of the bad things that have happened. And then they see all of the bad things that can happen based on what's happening now. And it's interesting that this comment has come in here about being on the downward spiral, because the key, I have talked to so many people who have completely changed the trajectory of their life, and then they've influenced a bunch of people, because it's like you start fixing you, people see you fix you, and it tracks them in. The one thing they had to let go of was everything that happened in their past to get them up to here, which, you know, and that's why we talked, like, did you regret things you did when you were in the bad place? Of course you did. Everybody's done terrible things. I told a story this weekend about how I put one of my superpowers to work to change policy to empower people to do more fracking under farmers' farms, which is a terrible practice, in my opinion. I think the use of the chemicals in the earth is doing the exact opposite of everything I stand for.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I did that I realized that it was not worth trading money for that job. And that's what put me on a new trajectory. But then I had to also forgive myself for helping rape the earth in Ohio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did, and we won, right? Sorry. I'm not this great person people may think I am sometimes, but it's just, like, you have to let that go so that you can move forward beyond that. And then we pair this comment with Strong Roots Resources saying Bear's story is a reminder that we've got the backing of the creator and we're not flying this plane solo. Had I not used my superpower for ill, I would have not heard the message that I was meant to do something different. And I'm particularly bad at hearing messages, just for the record. Sometime you can talk to Tactical about that, because he sat me down about 3 weeks ago and he's like, so I am now not speaking. It is not me speaking right now. You need to do this thing that you keep telling me about. And I was like, oh, now I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Got it. It's about to get really bad for me if I don't hear this message anymore. When you answer that calling, just like when you helped your first set of people who had hurricane damage, the rest of your freedom journey, and I'm going to go back to freedom because we're all like, liberty, yeah. It comes with it because you stop being terrified that you're going to fail every other day, or that this injury from your past is going to rule your life forever. I am physically better now than I've been in many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of what this has led me to is a cleaner lifestyle. And that made a huge physical difference. So,
fracking, you bring up fracking, right? You're more of a subject matter expert on that, knowing both sides of it, than somebody that just knows one. Because you can speak to it, right? Hey, and that's part of that. I think it's part of why I take the relationship that I have with the creator so seriously, is because I didn't have one. I know what it's like to be apart from him and how terrible that was, right? And like you fracking in Ohio, you know how terrible that was. And so it takes that character arc in your personal development story to go, oh, I was super wrong about this. And let me tell you why I was super wrong about this. I've seen the dangers of this. I know. And now let me keep you from making the same mistakes that I made, and one of the things that, we rescue kiddos. It's not something I thought I was going to be doing with my life, yet here we are. When you have these kiddos that have gone through things that are literally unspeakable, and they can still smile, and they can still laugh, and they do, and they want to pray, and they want to sing, and they want to give praise, it's like, oh, get over yourself. Okay. Like, what excuse do you have? Oh, my childhood was terrible. Okay, cool. Exhibit A, this one right here, still going through it, or just went through it, and they're laughing. All right, there's power in that, right? And so, like, journey to the light, what does that look like? I think hurt people have two options, and life hurts everyone to some extent, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's the human condition. We're all broken in one or more ways. And so you can either stay in your brokenness and continue to hurt yourself and hurt everyone else, or you can heal from your brokenness and then be a subject matter expert on what that particular type of broken looks like, so that you can then help heal other people too. And so, not to get all Jedi on you, but it really is light versus darkness. Like, you really do get to pick, because, if we go to thermodynamics, atrophy is a thing. If we don't rage against the dying of the light, it's all going to fall apart anyway. So it takes active participation of good people trying to do good things in order to just preserve what we've got, let alone shift the tide in favor of the light. And so I think we're all presented with an opportunity, if not myriad opportunities, to what the world would call do the right thing. But what does that look like? Well, I got to fix me so that I can be strong enough to fix other people. In that niche, that vein that I am a subject matter expert in, because I lived through it. I know what the darkness looks like. Fracking. And I know I don't want to be in the darkness anymore. I have a healthy respect of the darkness. But the light shines into the darkness, and the darkness comprehendeth it not, which is why I have so much more of a healthy respect for the light. And so if I can keep people from experiencing darkness, or if I can help pull people out of darkness, whether that's literal or metaphorical, that's part of, I believe, why the Father has preserved me to this point, because I'm a subject matter expert on bad shit. And that has enabled me to push back against bad shit.
And that's very powerful. That's very powerful for people who feel like they're in bad shit right now.
Yep.
If you're describing your job or life as soul sucking right now, that is a sign that it is time to not do that anymore. And unfortunate thing is, it doesn't mean tomorrow you're not doing it. It means step 1 and step 2. And actually the third step's always the hardest one to take, because that means you got to keep going and your perseverance has to kick in. But anytime you use those words, that is a really good indicator that you're not doing what you're supposed to right now.
How many souls do you have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you got the one, and you're going to burn it on this BS over here? Come on. And I will say this. I used to think, by worldly standards, man, I made tons of money. I was a literal rock star. Like, I did all the cool things, right? And I lots of testosterone and lifting heavy things and climbing hundreds of feet into the air, doing dangerous things. Man, my life is so cool now. Like, it's so cool. And I think a lot of times people think like, well, serving God sounds so boring. It's like, I'm not asking you to like have tea on Wednesday night with like the elderly people unless you want to, but like, you can totally be a badass and work for the kingdom and serve the light. And like, I'll be frank with you, the kingdom needs more badasses. Like, we got plenty of nice people. We need some people that are a little rough around the edges and will not tolerate any BS. That would be phenomenal if we could get a few more of them. And so like, I have a blast. There's days where I wake up, I'm like, this is my life. Like, this is what I get to do this. This is insane. And you make so many awesome connections, not for your own personal benefit, but to be able to deploy against needs of people who are in trouble. And it's like, pick a situation. If I needed to if I had to go right now, right? It's like, sorry, Nicole, I got to go. I could pick up this phone, be like, I need a helicopter here. And it would be there. Not for me, but so we could go help somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I need a connection to this politician in this place for this reason. Not so that Refuge can sell a bunch of first aid kits, but because we got to go rescue this person, or this town got wiped off the face of the earth by a flood or a tornado or a hurricane. We can do that. And like, I saw Jennifer put in the comments earlier, one of the things she learned at Refuge is like, you can just do stuff. You can just do stuff. Like, the only thing that's keeping you from doing stuff is you. It's not the system. It's not the oligarchy or the patriarchy, or it's you. You are your largest barrier to entry on anything you are endeavoring to do in your life. And if you just get out of your own damn way, subordinate your ego, prioritize and execute, man, in a month, your life would look radically different. And in a year, it would look radically different. And in a decade, you'd be like, I don't even know how I got here anymore. This is amazing.
Yeah. So with that call, if you're going to wrap up our talk today, what would you have to say to folks who've tuned in?
Oh my gosh, I think I just said it.
I think you kind of did too. But
radical personal responsibility and servitude to the creator of the universe. If you can marry those two things and get over whatever it is, whatever the hurdle in life that you're dealing with is, quit struggling with it. Stop. Because what you focus your attention on, that becomes your intention, and those are the results you're going to manifest. So start paying attention and being thankful for the good things in your life. Find opportunities to serve and back away from this broken beast system that doesn't serve any one of us, only serves itself, and figure out how can you truly love God with everything that you've got and love your neighbor as yourself. And in that, man, there is nothing that cannot be done. And I'm living proof of that. I am no one from Oklahoma, flyover state. I'm no one. And yet here we are. So if I can do it, if you can do it, Nicole, there's no reason why anybody else who's listening can't do it. And the world would be such a better place if people would, if they'd get out of their own damn way and just do the thing that they were created to do in the first place. Nobody would care who the president was because it wouldn't matter, because we're just so awesome with or without them.
Yeah. Awesome words today from Bear. If you want to support some of his projects, I'm going to highlight this one. This is calebhouse.org. That is the ministry to help kids who are being used in unspeakable ways become functioning adults after rescue. calebhouse.org. They're building rehabilitation centers for these kids because, unfortunately, kids get rescued and are right back on the streets or in a bad situation almost immediately if they don't have somewhere to go. And one of Bear's callings that's resonated with me a lot has been that calling. So if you're looking for something to support financially or in other ways, just by sharing the link around, if it's a bad day for you budgetarily right now, calebhouse.org, KALEBHOUSE.org for my audio podcast listeners. Bear, I appreciate you being willing to have the non-prepper talk today and talk about your journey as we dive a little more deep on the spiritual side lately. I appreciate you making time for me today.
Thanks you for having me. Listen, you should have beans in buckets, 100%. That's like de facto. This is the conversation that really matters, though. It was an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. Make it a great week, everybody.